This is a 2021 Mercedes-Maybach S580, and it's a luxury sedan. Really, it's an ultra-luxury sedan with a sticker price of around $212,000 and an amazing amount of features both in front and in back. And today I'm going to review the new Maybach S-Class and show you everything. Before I get started, be sure to check out Cars and Bids, which is my enthusiast car auction website for cool cars from the modern era, now with free listings. You can list your car for free on Cars and Bids and auction it. And we've had some great sales recently, including this wonderful BMW 740i with an M5 drivetrain swap, sold for over $25,000. This AutoZam AZ1 sold for over $27,000, and this fantastic Sprinter van brought over $90,000 with four-wheel drive. We've done great with vans on Cars and Bids. If you're looking to buy or sell a cool enthusiast car from the modern era, the 1980s and up, Cars and Bids is the place to do it. Check it out at carsandbids.com. So let's talk Maybach S-Class. You already know the Mercedes-Benz S-Class. It's their flagship luxury sedan, and I recently reviewed the brand new model a few months ago. Fine, but this is a different realm of S-Class, the top-tier luxury version for Mercedes-Maybach luxury brand. And yes, $212,000. That's a big deal because a regular S-Class starts around $110,000, so this is basically double, but it has so many luxurious amenities and features and equipment that the competition for this car isn't BMW and Audi. Instead, it's Rolls-Royce and Bentley. This is one of the most luxurious luxury cars in the world, and today I'm going to review it. First, I'll take you on a thorough tour of the Maybach S-Class and show you all of its amazing quirks and features. Then I'll get it out on the road and drive it, and then I'll give it a Doug score. Alright, I'm going to start the quirks and features of the new Maybach S-Class in the back seat, which makes sense because this car is all about chauffeur-driven luxury. And that becomes clear the moment you open the back door and see just how massive this rear compartment is. You can sit back here and completely lie down while you're being driven along in luxury like a really expensive first-class airplane seat. It is incredible back here. And there are some amazing luxury touches, like a head pillow. You don't just get a regular headrest, there's a soft, fluffy pillow that you stick your head on for optimal rear seat comfort. And there's more pillow than just that. This part of the seat at the bottom is pillowed leather, very comfortable, very soft, and it's there for leg support. You can extend it out to support your legs in any position you might want, again making this feel like a first-class airplane seat. And check this out. If you're sitting over here on the passenger side and back, you can press this button on the door panel and then the front seat will fold away completely. You can see it automatically folds as far forward as possible to give you even more space back here, as if you could have possibly needed any more space. Well, if you did, now you have it. And the seat controls get even crazier than that, because if you press this button here on the door panel, your seat automatically lies flat. You can see it go down to like a lying down position, so you can take a nap back here while your chauffeur is driving you along in unparalleled luxury from your Maybach, a lie down flat seating position in back. Pretty impressive stuff. But of course, we are nowhere near done with the amazing amenities back here. Check this out. Press this little silver button in the center console, and then the lid automatically retracts and reveals a hidden little compartment. Before I go through the compartment, let me just point out there are two of these little buttons to control this center console lid, one on each side. So if you're sitting back here, you don't have to reach like an extra inch over to press one button in the center. No, that would be inconvenient. They provided two buttons. one for each rear passenger. But anyway, let's talk through this center compartment. You have a few things in here. One is two different groups of cup holders. They serve different purposes. The cup holders closest to you are like shallow. You press them and they don't really go down that far, but these little silver pieces like clamp down when you push the cup holder down. That's because these cup holders are for champagne flutes. You put a champagne flute in here and it clamps down on the base of the champagne flute so you don't spill your champagne in the back of your Maybach. The next set of cup holders are more standard traditional cup holders, but they are heated and cooled. And check this out. You press the button to heat or cool them, and the cup holders change color depending on whether you have it on heating or cooling. Heat is red, cooling is blue, which is a pretty cool touch. Your last item up here is your climate control for the rear seat. Of course, two separate climate zones for rear seat passengers, so each individual rear seat passenger can sit in their desired climate temperature, fan speed, etc. in back. And of course, we are still nowhere near done with the amazing luxury features back here. Next, I want to talk about the screens. You can see these two screens mounted on the backs of the front seats, one for each rear passenger. These are touch screens with Mercedes MBUX infotainment system, and they control everything in back that the driver and passenger can control in front. You want to change the radio station for the whole car? You can do that back here. Or the media source. You want to make a phone call? You can do that back here on the screen. You want to change the navigation destination? You can control it in back. The rear passenger has access to everything the front passenger does, because in a lot of cases with this car, it's the rear passenger who paid for the car, the one who's getting chauffeured around. So he or she can choose what they want to listen to and if they want to make calls. But these screens back here, they're so far away. You're sitting back here lying down, and it's difficult to reach forward and touch the screens when you're lying in such comfort. Fortunately, there's also a closer screen. This one here in the center has the exact same functions as the screens in the back of the front seat. Again, this is the MBUX system, and you can scroll through here and do everything you can up front. Navigation, destination, phone call, radio station from this tiny little screen. But this screen is sitting here sort of flat, facing up in the center console. You have to kind of sit up and angle your head in order to see it, which can be kind of annoying, except that you don't, because you can press this eject button and the screen pops out of the center console, and you can use it as a portable version of MBUX. So forget about these rear center screens. You have a portable tablet back here you can use to control all of the vehicle functions. You don't even have to bother with screens that are mounted on stuff. That's the level of luxury we're talking about. And some of the controls in this little portable screen are really crazy. For instance, you can turn on reading lights back here. Now, of course, you could just reach up, tap the light, and turn it on. But if you don't want to go to all that trouble, you can turn on the reading lights using your little screen tablet in case you just want to stay seated and do it even more easily. You can also turn on the fragrance in this car. In addition to the climate control air blowing through the air vents, you can turn on a fragrance that will also blow through the air vents to make the interior smell wonderful. This fragrance is in a canister located in the glove box, and you can switch it out in case you want to change fragrances. And then you can turn it on or off while you're sitting back here being whisked along. And of course, you can turn on your massage in the back seats. And not just a regular massage, you can choose between 7 different types of rear seat massage while you sit in the back of your Maybach S-Class. There's even an option for a workout program back here where it tells you to push down hard on various pressure points on the seat to keep your muscles strengthened and working out even while you're being driven along. A workout program in the back of your Maybach. That is pure luxury. And then, of course, there's still more. You put the tablet back into its little tablet home in this center console armrest, and you discover that this isn't an armrest at all. It's actually a lid. You lift up this lid and you will find hidden tray tables. Check this out. You pop out the tray table, you can pull it out and then unfold it, and then you you can swivel it towards you so the tray table is sitting at its full size directly in your lap, and you can set up a laptop computer or a newspaper or your lunch and put it on your tray table while you're being driven along. That is pretty cool, but maybe more impressive in this little center console area is the sheer number of charge ports. There are 6 USB-C ports back here, which is pretty amazing. Any device you want, you can charge it. Then there's 2 more cigarette lighter style outlets back here too. 8 separate charge ports in this little center console area. I guess they figure people being chauffeured along in today's world have a lot of devices they need to charge, and so you got charge ports for all of them. And just in case that wasn't enough, there's also a wireless phone charger in here, so really there's 9 charge ports in this center console, in addition to your tray tables. Again, pure luxury. And of course, there's still more. Let's talk about this storage compartment between the 2 seats, between the backrests. You open it up, and then you open up this second lid, and that's your refrigerator. This car has a built-in refrigerator. This is where you keep your champagne that you would pour into those champagne flutes that I mentioned earlier. Now, this refrigerator has 2 separate settings for cool. You can see it here. You just tap on this little touchpad, and you can turn it on or very on to keep stuff very refrigerated in your rear seat refrigerator. And next up, let's talk stereo. This car has a Burmester sound system, 16 speakers, including one mounted here on the ceiling between the 2 giant sunroofs. You have a giant Burmester speaker there, which just looks cool and enhances your sound experience. Also, speaking of the windows, you can close a shade over any window back here, the side windows, the rear window, the sunroof, but my personal favorite is the sunshade for this tiny little quarter window mounted next to the headrest, just in case you really want to keep the sun out and get some sleep while you're being driven along. Even that window has a little sunshade curtain thing, which is pretty nice. But just in case you're not satisfied with all that stuff, perhaps you'll be happy with the sheer number of Maybach logos back here, reminding you that you're riding around in something special. You have Maybach logos on the backs of the front seats. You can see here, 1 on each side, and then Maybach is printed here in the center console, another reminder of what you're riding in. You have Maybach, of course, on the door sills, so you know what you're getting into when you climb inside, and there's a Maybach logo between the seats directly above the latch for the refrigerator. You also have Maybach logos on the pillows on the headrests. Imprinted into these fluffy little pillows is the Maybach logo, just so every surface possible can remind you precisely what you're riding in. But when it comes to Maybach logos, the exterior has some far more interesting ones than the interior. You have your obvious ones like you'd expect, like Maybach written out on the trunk lid, and there are a few subtle ones that are kind of neat, like Maybach in the center of the wheel, just printed ever so subtly, and Maybach up front, just below the Mercedes-Benz hood ornament, you got the word Maybach printed out. But the crazier Maybach logo situation comes when you approach this car at night and unlock it. A lot of brands will project their logo onto the ground, and this one is no different. You can see the Maybach logo projected out on the side to remind you how special this car is, but check this out. The Maybach logo on this rear pillar also lights up, just to show everybody in the vicinity that yes, this is a Maybach. In case those projections on the ground weren't enough, the logo on the side, both sides, is lighting up to really drive home the point that you're in the Maybach, the flagship luxury Mercedes. But it's not like you need all those Maybach logos lighting up on the outside of the car to make it clear to bystanders that this is very expensive. That much is obvious the moment you walk up to this car, and one way to tell is the paint. Two-tone paint is specifically reserved for high-end luxury cars these days, and in this case, this paint color costs $14,500 extra, according to the window sticker. $14,500 for this two-tone obsidian black and cirrus silver paint. I have purchased working automobiles for less money than the paint on this car. By the way, speaking of the window sticker, one other notable item, the champagne flutes I mentioned earlier that come with this car, they're $3,200 extra for Maybach champagne flutes. That's pretty insane. But to me, probably the most obvious luxury cue on the outside of this car is the wheels. These giant flat surface silver wheels that just scream opulent luxury. I call these dinner plate wheels because they kind of look like a dinner plate, and you know you've made it when you're driving around in a Maybach on dinner plates. The dinner plates are especially crazy because there's no even attempt to make them look sporty or cool or fun. They're just big, flat, and silver. Frankly, I find them to be kind of ugly, and yet I'm strangely drawn to them just because they do such a great job of conveying the opulent wealth you're trying to signal when you get one of these cars. But anyway, back inside and moving up front. Now, like I said earlier, I've already reviewed the new S-Class, and that included a thorough tour of all the stuff up front. I'm gonna link that video in the description below if you want a closer look at some of this stuff. In this video, I'm just gonna hit the highlights, starting with the trim and the materials up here. You have this beautiful black trim with silver lines going across it. Looks very classy and very upmarket, like you would expect from a Maybach. You also have some wonderful comfort features up here too, like for instance, the headrest pillows. You can see the fluffy pillow I mentioned in back is also up front to keep you especially comfortable, even if you're sitting in the front of the Maybach. Next up, another interesting item up here, the center climate vents. Instead of 2 larger vents like most cars have, you get 4 smaller vents, which is kind of an interesting unorthodox decision. Also a little bit unusual is how you can turn the vents on or off. It's these little buttons to the left. Instead of a little wheel you slide to close or open the vents like most cars, you press this button and you can see these lights come on to tell you whether your vent is open or closed and just how much. Kind of strange. Now, the reason the vents are so small and positioned pretty high in the dashboard is because Mercedes-Benz had to make room for the center screen, which is massive and quite easy to use. This is the latest MBUX system, and it's fantastic. I love this system. Very easy to use, intuitive, quick to respond to your touch. It's really, really great. One of my very favorite infotainment systems in any car today. And you can see controlling this screen very simple. You have your climate controls along the bottom. No hard buttons for your climate controls, but they're always in this position on the screen, so it's easy to access them. Above the climate controls, you have the rest of your controls here, including this little sliding band of controls that you can use to adjust various different systems and items throughout the car, radio, navigation, phone, all that sort of stuff. Pretty simple and very easy to use in this fantastic MBUX system. Now, even more interesting than that is the gauge cluster in this car, which is 3D. I can't show you this on camera, but your eyes can see it when you're sitting in here. You'll have to trust me. The gauges are actually like at a different 3D level than the rest of this gauge cluster. It's all done virtually, and it's amazingly cool to see if you can actually see it. Now, like I said, I can't easily show you that 3D gauge cluster, but I can show you the heads-up display, which of course projects information onto the windshield. Even in its regular form, the heads-up display, pretty useful, and you get a lot of good info there, but it's especially cool when you're using the driver assist features from this car, where it's basically doing the steering, the braking, and accelerating for you. When you have that system going, you can see it sort of locks on to the car in front of you with this little like green flash projected onto the windshield. And even as that car kind of turns and moves around, the green flash stays with it, which is kind of cool to see and gives you some assurance that this system is working. But even cooler than that is making a lane change. When you're in the driver assist mode, the car will change lanes for you. Just put on your signal and the car will do it. And you can see it actually indicates the path where it's going to go onto the heads-up display. There's this arrow, and then as you make the lane change, it shows you exactly where it's going, and then the arrow straightens out. That is a pretty cool thing to see, all projected onto the windshield in front of you, just making a lane change. It really does add some confidence to this system. You feel like you know what it's doing and what it's going to do. And finally, last thing I want to discuss in here is cabin lighting. Interior lighting in this car is unbelievable. There's a crazy amount of interior lights. As you can see, they all light up and really set a mood in this interior. And you can go into the infotainment system and change them to be kind of whatever colors you want. And while this is kind of a cool gimmick that some cars offer, Mercedes-Benz has really gone all out with this feature. There's an amazing level of cabin lighting that truly does create a mood and an atmosphere in here. As you can see, when the lighting colors change, the entire feel of the interior changes, and I'm quite impressed to see the different colors and the effect they have on the mood in the interior and just how different the interior feels when you change the colors. And Mercedes does some other really cool stuff with the lighting in this car, including making it reactive to some of your inputs. Check this out. You adjust the climate control temperature in this car and it shoots out a little band of color corresponding to the adjustment you just made. If you made it hotter, it's a red little shot. If you made it colder, it's a blue little streak of light going across the dashboard, which is so cool. And it corresponds to exactly when you make your adjustment. So you tap hot 3 times and it sends out 3 little pew pew pews of hot like color all through your dashboard, which is kind of a cool thing. I love how they do this. It just makes the whole thing a little bit more fun, even though you're only adjusting your climate control temperature. And by the way, as you might imagine, just like in back, there are quite a few Maybach logos up front in this car. My personal favorite is on the pedals, a place you'll never really look at and only touch with your shoe. You can see aluminum finish and Maybach logos just to remind your feet of the special car they're operating. And next up, we move under the hood. Now this is the Mercedes-Maybach S580, and so it shares the same engine as the regular Mercedes S580, the S-Class sedan. That's a twin-turbo V8 with about 500 horsepower. A more powerful Maybach is on the way. Next year, Mercedes is going to roll out the Maybach S680, which will have a twin-turbo V12 with about 620 horsepower. Just in case all this isn't enough for you, a more expensive, more powerful version is coming. But for now, you get this twin-turbo V8, about 500 horsepower, pretty powerful engine. And finally, we move into the cargo area of the Maybach. You can see the trunk is quite large, but not as large as it could be because there are a couple of encumbrances. Over on the left side, the driver's side, you can see like a hump here. I assume this is for stereo equipment, and it takes up some rather valuable trunk space in back, which is a little bit annoying. But more annoying is this large case in the center. This is for the refrigerator, and it's always an annoyance in these cars that have rear seat refrigerators. It's a cool feature, but a refrigerator takes up a lot of space, as you can see, and it robs a lot of cargo space from the trunk, except you can pull it out. You see this little handle here? Just grab it, pull, and then you can remove your rear seat refrigerator in order to maximize your trunk space, which is really cool. I've reviewed a lot of super high-end luxury cars with refrigerators, and I've never seen a removable one before that gives you back some of your cargo space if you don't want to use the refrigerator. A very cool idea in the Maybach. And so those are the quirks and features of the new Maybach S-Class. Now it's time to get it out on the road and see how it drives. All right, driving the new Maybach S-Class, driving a Maybach on dinner plates. This vehicle is seriously, seriously opulent and luxurious, and it's so nice in here. It's just so calming and wonderful. Now, if you're looking for actual consumer advice, I will tell you, it is not quite as calm and collected and luxurious as a Bentley or a Rolls-Royce in here. Maybe the Bentleys, maybe a new Flying Spur is about the same, although I think that's even a little bit more comfortable and insulated than this car. The materials quality just isn't quite the same in the Mercedes, and that includes the materials they use to construct the car that you can't see, which keeps noise out and keeps vibrations out and that sort of thing. Not that there's any of that stuff in this car, but Bentleys and Rolls-Royces have it just a little bit less. You hear a little less wind noise, tire noise, suspension's just a little calmer. People are willing to pay tens of thousands of dollars for incremental improvements with those cars that this one just doesn't quite have. This is still tremendously luxurious and comfortable and calming. It is just amazing how nice this car is and how just comfortable it feels. You really do have this wafting on a cloud feel, and I gotta say, this pillow headrest, it's just so nice in here. Oh, it's like a cloud, it really is. So let's talk about a few driving experience things. One, the driver assist technologies in this car are amazing. You can be hands off the steering wheel for, I don't know, maybe 30, 40 seconds, but the cool thing about this steering wheel is it's capacitive touch. So you don't have to be moving the steering wheel a little bit like in some cars. You just touch it, it recognizes your hand is there, and it stops asking you to touch it, and it kind of does everything else. And that's especially nice in a car like this because it's such a luxurious, comfortable experience. That just adds to kind of your comfort and your decrease in your stress level. Now, as for a comparison against the regular S-Class, I gotta say, I don't feel like it's that dramatically better to drive in terms of comfort and luxury. They both are amazing. They both feel puffy cloud, pillow soft, and I kind of think that the real benefit of the Maybach is in terms of style, brand name, and then the technology that you get. The stuff I showed you in back, things like that. That's what really gives you this Maybach feel. I'm sure they do make suspension improvements and that sort of thing, but it's not so dramatic. You can maybe tell a little bit that it's a little bit more comfortable, and it certainly has some nice touches that the regular S-Class doesn't in terms of seating quality and the pillow. But it's not like that much better. Regular S-Class is still a very comfortable car. As for performance, you step on it in this and it really does move, although that is not the intent of this car, but it really, really, really hauls. I can't imagine the V12 is going to be that much faster, although my presumption is that that's more of like a top speed cruiser kind of engine, like Autobahn, 140 miles an hour, go for miles and miles at a time between cities, between important business meetings. And I suspect at the low end, both powertrains will be about the same. Now, in terms of technology with this car, I recently filmed a video with the new Mercedes-Benz EQS, which is sort of like the futuristic electric version of this car. I don't think that video has gone up yet, but it will soon. And I gotta say, the EQS, the tech is just more advanced. I love MBUX, very easy to use, but it's hard to use the EQS giant screen dashboard and then go back to regular MBUX. It's just not as good. The EQS really moves the game forward and gives you a hint of where Mercedes-Benz is going. And it's kind of funny to be in this car, which has one of the best infotainment systems in the entire industry, and still feel like it's a little outdated because Mercedes-Benz does it even better. Really though, the point of this car is luxury and features, and it delivers. It's just so nice to sit in here and just be calm, and the world is on the outside and you don't have to really think about it. It's really, really a fantastic car. Building on the already fantastic new S-Class. And so that's the Maybach S-Class. This is a seriously impressive luxury sedan, an amazing vehicle with amazing amenities and a fantastically luxurious driving experience. And now it's time to give the new Maybach S-Class a DOUGSCORE. Starting with the weekend categories and styling, the Maybach S-Class looks cool and luxurious, but not exactly too beautiful, and it gets a 6 out of 10. Acceleration 0 to 60 is in the low 4-second range, and it gets a 7 out of 10. Handling is normal for a car like this, and it gets a 5 out of 10. Same deal with fun factor. It's reasonably quick, but not exactly a thrill. That isn't really the point, and it gets a 5 out of 10. Cool factor, though, is heightened compared to a regular S-Class, and it gets a 6 out of 10 for a total weekend score of 29 out of 50. Next up are the daily categories and features. It's loaded with a lot of amazing technology, and it gets a 9 out of 10. Comfort, same deal, fantastically comfortable and luxurious, falling just shy of the very best, and it gets a 9 out of 10. Quality is excellent, reliability remains to be seen, but the interior is tremendously luxurious and gorgeous, and it gets a 9 out of 10. Practicality is average for a car like this, and it gets a 5 out of 10. Value is a bit mixed. It's a bargain compared to Bentley or Rolls-Royce, but it's pricey compared to a regular S-Class, which has a lot of the same stuff. It gets a 5 out of 10 for a total daily score of 27 out of 50. Added up, and the DOUGSCORE is 66 out of 100, which places the Maybach here against rivals. This is one of the very best luxury sedans, but it's no Phantom or even Flying Spur. But then again, this is cheaper than those too. The Maybach is a wonderful luxury sedan, essentially a budget Bentley with some amazing features and equipment.